Welcome back. We are Cinema Drinking Buddies, and in today's video, we are going to be reviewing San Andreas.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
We're your hosts, Matt and Gio, and Gio, why don't you let them know what we're doing for our tasting today?
So today we're actually going to go ahead and try Canadian whiskey. So that's going to be very interesting. We have some different, really good looking ones here. So let's go ahead and let's try our first one.
Yeah, so this is Whiskey Month, also Disaster Movie Month. So we've tried so far bourbon and Irish whiskeys, so this is Canadian Whiskey Week. We'll be doing the same thing, trying 5 different ones and seeing which we like the best. So what I'm trying to do with all of these is pick the standard version of each brand, but kind of like last week with the Tullamore Dew, where I accidentally got the cider cask finish. For the Rich and Rare, I accidentally got the Reserve as opposed to just the standard. But even though it's Reserve, this bottle, 750 milliliters at Total Wine, costs $8.99.
$8.99?
$8.99.
Wow.
I was surprised that cost $8.99. So I'm not sure if it's just because it's Canadian and it's that low, or if we'll find out why it's $8.99 when we actually try it.
Let's find out.
But yeah, let's find out. Let me see your glass. Rich and Rare Reserve Canadian Whiskey. Yeah, we're gonna get drunk.
Ooh. So for $8.99, that is not bad, honestly.
No, I don't think I'd pay $25 for it. You could probably mix that with something. I guess like Coke or maybe I'd mix that with Sprite. I don't know.
I don't think Sprite.
No. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's not harsh, but it has like not really an aftertaste, but an after effect.
Yeah.
Like you take it and you feel it kind of like go up your sinuses a little bit.
Well, not my sinuses really, but just, yeah, you do have that after, I guess it's like an afterburn? I'm not too sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for $8.99, that is not bad.
It's not bad for $8.99.
That is Rich and Rare Reserve. Yeah, I didn't even see the regular one there. No, I take that back. I think I did see the regular one there, but it was like the large size, like the 1.75 milliliter. And if I'm not mistaken, that one was like 13 something and change.
See, even then, that's not.
Yeah, no, that is not expensive at all. So, a Rich and Rare Reserve, off to a pretty decent start for Canadian whiskey, I think.
So those are taste testing there. So for the director and producer in the movie, the director is Brad Payton. He did numerous movies, a few movies, but one of them you know for is Rampage and Journey to Mysterious Island, which aren't the best movies, but that's the movies that he did, and they both surprisingly had The Rock, Dwayne Johnson in it as well. The producer, Beau Flynn, he did a little bit more movies known, Requiem for a Dream. He did Exorcism of Emily Rose. He also did a lot of Dwayne Johnson movies as well. Baywatch, Skyscraper, Rampage, and also he's going to do the upcoming Jungle Cruise and Black Adam movie.
So, like you said, this movie does star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He is the main star of the movie. He plays Ray. You've got Carla Gugino, who plays Emma, his soon-to-be ex-wife. You've got Alexandra Daddario, who plays their daughter Blake. Ioan Griffith, who plays Emma's boyfriend Daniel. And then Paul Giamatti, who plays a seismologist, Dr. Hayes.
So the movie starts off with a rock slide happening, knocking a vehicle off of a cliff and being stopped by a tree. A rescue team arrives and is piloted by Ray. He saves the girl in the car. Dr. Lawrence and Dr. Kim, who are seismologists, actually investigate these little mini quakes that are occurring in Las Vegas. We then see Ray, he received a divorce paper in the mail. Dr. Kim and Lawrence were testing a theory in Las Vegas, and then a huge earthquake happens at the Hoover Dam, which ends up resulting in Dr. Kim's death. Ray is then called because of the disaster after visiting his daughter. His about to be divorced wife, Emma, goes to a fancy restaurant on a skyscraper, and Ray's daughter goes with Daniel, who's the new boyfriend of Emma. A large earthquake happens and it hits Los Angeles. It occurs so much devastation, damage. Ray ends up rescuing Emma at the skyscraper in the helicopter that he's in. Blake and Daniel car crashes. Well, Blake gets stuck and Daniel leaves Dick. Blake is then rescued by two brothers who she had met earlier, Ben and Ollie. Then they were able to reach Ray by a phone call at a Radio Shack. And we were told, and then they were basically told by Ray, who's pretty smart in this and knows exactly what to do, and also Blake is as well, told to go to the tallest building to go ahead and so he can pick him up there. While it's occurring, Daniel's basically walking after he leaves Blake, and a large cloud of debris comes by. And when that happens, he basically goes and there's like a corner spot where it's being protected. He basically gets a guy and like tosses him out, and then he ends up dying. So another time he's a dick. Another earthquake happens, and this is a lot larger earthquake. After that, tsunami happens. Daniel dies. Yay. Blake, Ben, Ollie then gets trapped in the building after a tsunami hits, and then the building starts flooding. Ray and Emma finds Blake in a riverboat, and then the building starts collapsing. She gets stuck, trapped even more. She starts drowning. She drowns. Ray then is able to revive her, and then the whole family is complete again. The end.
All right. Well, thank you, Gio, for that synopsis. So yeah, I mean that synopsis brings up a couple of topics, that we're going to want to go over. So I feel like this would be a good time to have our next drink.
Yep.
So our next one is going to be Canadian Club. And I was able to get one of these little tiny bottles. Canadian Club, a 750 milliliter bottle of this is $9.99. Not very expensive. And again, this is $9.99 at Total Wine, Spirits and More in South Texas.
So it's $9.99 for that bottle?
No, $9.99 for a
regular bottle.
For a standard 750 milliliter bottle. Yeah. So no, this one's like 99 cents.
I was gonna say like it's pretty expensive.
The reason I bring up the where is because depending on where you are in the world or where you are in the country, it may be less or maybe more. What I'm finding is that the Canadian whiskey isn't that expensive here. So we'll see how we like this compared to the rich and rare. Doesn't have a bad smell.
No. I can smell more alcohol in this though.
Yeah.
Harsher going down too.
I don't care for the taste either.
No, not really.
What is that? It tastes... It doesn't... I'm trying to figure out what that taste is.
To me, it just tastes like alcohol. Like the smell of alcohol.
Yeah.
Like rubbing alcohol. Just the smell of it.
Yeah.
It tastes like that.
Yeah, it's 40% alcohol by volume. So is the rich and rare.
Tastes were completely opposite though.
Yeah. The rich and rare actually had a pretty nice taste. It was a little... It was a little on the rough side going down.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it had a decent taste. This one,
it tastes like the smell of rubbing alcohol. It's just so strange.
I guess if you're just looking to get drunk, this would be a good thing to try. I don't know if I'd even want to mix this with anything.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I would either.
I'm glad I got the small bottle. So yeah, like you said in the synopsis, Ray's character was very smart with things like this, and a lot of it just had to do with his job, his profession.
Yeah,
I think they did mention at the beginning of the movie he was ex-military, but he works for the Los Angeles Fire Department as a helicopter rescue pilot. When it comes to like survival and things like that, he's very smart when it comes to that sort of thing. You can tell that his daughter has learned a lot from him too.
Yeah,
because there were a lot of times where she said, "Oh, my dad always said do this," things like that.
Like get to higher ground. There's another part where she remembers where her dad was teaching her how to use a phone. So you basically they went to a Radio Shack, and that's how they were able to contact him with all the cell towers down to find a grounded line. So she was able to go to Radio Shack, find a phone jack, use an old dialer phone to be able to connect to that and to be able to reach out to there. Also, her dad taught her to go to a fire truck and have a supply truck. They were able to find a radio so they can keep up to date in real time, basically, and knowing exactly. That's how they knew about the tsunami that was about to hit.
Yeah.
You have Ben and Ollie, who are actually smart in their own way, basically from Britain, right?
Yeah, they're British, and they're very resourceful. Because when she was trapped in that car in that parking garage, then Daniel left her, Dick. They went down there to save her because they heard, they were in the lobby and they heard Daniel telling someone, "Hey, there's someone down there." So they went down to get her, and they're trying to get her out of this car, but the weight of the roof of the garage is pushing down on the car. So Ben goes and what's the word I'm looking for? Punctures. There you go. He goes and he punctures the tires to let all the air out to bring the car down so that
there's no space to bring her out.
Yeah, there's enough space to bring her out. So I mean, that was really smart.
Yeah, and it was something that could actually be thought in real life. It's like, oh, why don't they do this? Why don't they do this? But they never do. And this part, they actually like, oh, let me just do this really quick. And it wasn't like just slowly. He did it really, really fast to make sure it goes down. And he had enough time before everything crashes in. So, and also back to Blake with her resourcefulness. There's actually 2 buildings that she needs to go to. One of those buildings was unreachable at that point because of all the fires and everything that's going on. Because
they were going to go to Coit Tower.
Yeah. So they end up going another location. She remembers Daniel was building another building there that was supposed to withstand earthquakes, and so that was still up. So they went over there. Even though everyone's going the opposite way, they still decided to go. And ended up working a lot because when the tsunami came, it wiped up a lot of people there. Yeah. So
even though Daniel was a dick, he's a very good architect.
Yeah.
Blake knew that that was a building that he was designing, and he even mentioned when he was talking to her that this is like a very sturdy, like earthquake-proof building. So when she saw that building, she knew right away that this is the building for us. Like, the building eventually went down, but it took a while to go down.
Yeah, it took like 2 earthquakes, and these are like not just normal like 6, 7. These are like 9-point and higher earthquakes.
Yeah, big earthquakes. The resourcefulness that she showed, a lot of it had to do with obviously her dad teaching her about the landline and the supply kit and the fire truck, getting to higher ground, just knowing where her dad would try and find her. And then Ben just having the common sense to, instead of trying to lift this thing up, let's bring her lower. That's not something that I think you really get trained for. That's just sort of a common sense thing. But even though it is common sense, I don't think that a lot of people would think of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Or a lot of movie characters wouldn't portray their characters to do that. So it's good that they were actually trying to make this into like a real life scenario. Like what would an actual person do in this situation?
Obviously, Ray knows what to do about everything just because of what he does. And Emma, she was with Ray the whole time. She knew enough and I guess trusted enough that Ray knew what he was talking about, because when she was in that building having lunch with Daniel's sister, everyone was going down and she was going up.
So like she knows like the roof is, that's where he's going to be, and so she needs to go to the roof.
Yeah.
And she wasn't where a lot of movie characters happen, where they're like, oh no, I need you to rescue me type. Because even trying to get to that helicopter was a very, very troubling thing. She had to dodge her way out while buildings are falling, debris is falling.
Oh yeah, she worked to get to that helicopter.
Yeah, so it wasn't just like, oh no, I need to be saved type thing. So everyone had what they needed to do during it. So
yeah. The characters in this movie were smart, and I think that they were believably smart.
Yeah, like when Ray. Sorry for cutting you off, but like the baseball field when Ray had to tell everybody to get behind like the stadium, and someone asked like, "How'd you know we'll be safe?" And he goes, "Well, I really didn't. Just need to get up to something sturdy," and which makes sense, but a lot of people wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I think the movie did a good job of setting up these characters' expertise and knowledge prior to all of this stuff happening, where they actually have to put that expertise to use.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of these things like, how would they even know to do that type of thing? Like, it was, okay, well, she knows to do that because her dad taught her this, and he knows to do this because of his job, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
even the younger brother, you would think, like, he doesn't really know much, he can't do it, but he has a book that shows everything about Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, he's the ultimate tourist.
Yeah. So he has a book with everything on it. So the way that they found these different buildings is the book he had, so they were able to go. It's not like, oh, I know where this is, and I can get there automatically, which most people don't know, but he had a book to give him the direction where to go. So
I buy those books. I do. I buy those books. Like, those books, honestly, are better than any Google search. Everything you need to know is just there. You don't have to go and search for it. So yeah, I totally buy those books.
But even in this case, you can't use cell phones. You can't do
exactly
because all the cell towers down. So
yeah, the fact that he had that book, I think, was obviously very good. It was a help to the characters, but I don't see it as like this. Oh well, that's convenient. It's more of like
because they're tourists.
Yeah, they're tourists. They have that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a nice little touch. I can't talk. In the movie we watched last week, Twister, we were talking about how the practical effects in that movie were really good, and how that movie didn't really rely on CGI that much. And I feel like this movie is kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
Where it didn't rely on the practical effects as much as it relied on the CGI. I mean, I thought the CGI was pretty...
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly...
It's a newer movie, so I mean, you would expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I honestly wouldn't... There's some parts where I was confused whether it was CGI or practical effect. Because I'm pretty sure practical effects was in use in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I just wasn't sure what was CGI and what was practical effect. I'm not...
And that's how you know the CGI is good.
Yeah. I'm not bashing on like the CGI and that part. Just so in line that, like, okay, they may have used CGI, they may have used practical effects in this part. So... And there's parts where, oh, of course that's CGI, and either it's noticeable or that they can't control that.
Yeah.
Is where it is. But
like the tsunami, I'm pretty sure that was CGI.
Oh, of course. The crates falling down, I'm pretty sure that was CGI.
The parking garage with the, it collapsing, that could have been practical.
Yeah, that looked practical. Yeah. There's parts where water's coming in, like when the flooding happened when they're driving on the boat, that may have been real, like all the debris that they did, stuff like that.
Yeah, they might have had
not just a green screen. But.
Yeah, like you were saying, it was difficult to tell what was CGI and what was practical effect. I think when you have that trouble differentiating, that means that they did a good job. And you would think that in this time, because this movie came out in 2015, so this was 5 years ago, and I feel like there are movies that have come out, 5 years ago and even sooner, where you can totally tell, oh, that's CGI.
Or they go, that's not necessary. They could do practical effect there. Why did they use CGI there?
Yeah. I think this movie did a really good job with the CGI.
And kind of like going in with the CGI part, I kind of like the different points of views that they did. So they did an aerial point of view with Ray in the helicopter when he was going to go and rescue Emma. They did, while the earthquake is happening, they did that view, so you can see it from up top.
Oh, yeah.
And then you did a ground view with Blake and Ben and Ollie during that part. And then you had a building view with Emma when she was in that skyscraper. So you had these different levels of perspective.
Yeah, that's what the characters were seeing.
Yeah, of different levels. So you're not just like, oh, this is only the ground, like, oh, this is only the aerial shot, or this is the only ground shot. Your brain can go ahead and say like, oh, well, this is the whole entire picture of it. It's not just like, oh, what would it look like on the ground, or what would it look like here. So
yeah, because
I enjoy that a lot.
And I like the fact that it was actually from like the perspective of the main characters, because a lot of movies, when they do things like that, they may focus in on like an extra or someone and like have it be from this extra's point of view for like 30 seconds or whatever, or like a minor character. The movie we did 2 weeks ago, Independence Day, you had Tiffany, Jasmine's friend, the stripper, who went up to the roof of that building to welcome the aliens. And so we were seeing that building and that, happen from her perspective. But this is a minor character that we don't really care about.
Yeah, or the movie doesn't invest in.
Yeah, anything. It was almost like this character was here solely for the purpose of having
that perspective,
a point of view of this. Yeah, of having that perspective. But here, like you said, they were able to actually use the main characters to see, okay, what is Emma seeing, from where she is in this building? What is Blake seeing from the ground? What is Ray seeing from the air? Yeah. And I think being able to see that through the main characters' perspectives that we are invested in kind of makes it...
Even Giamatti's character, I forgot his name.
Paul Giamatti, yeah.
Yeah, his perspective, because he's the seismologist in this, and he had his perspective inside the room. It's not near the danger as everyone else is, and so it's kind of away. It still affected him in the building that he was in, so knowing what to do there.
Yeah, well, even the Hoover Dam scene where
Dr. Kim died.
Yeah, where Dr. Kim died. He was the only one of the main characters that really experienced a loss of someone close to them. Because I'm trying to think. I don't think Ray or Emma or Blake or Ben and Ollie lost anyone other than Daniel, and we were kind of like, well, I did see it in the theater. But I don't remember if when he died, if there was an applause. But I feel like there would have been, or there should have been, when he finally died. We got to see Paul Giamatti's perspective of someone who has lost a friend.
And it's when he was saving somebody, actually. So
Yeah.
he actually saved the little girl. He threw the little girl because a rebar actually went into his foot. So he couldn't move. Even if he wanted to, he wasn't able to move from it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those moments where it was a split second, but that split second felt like 2 minutes when they both looked at each other like, this is going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. Why don't I feel like we've been talking for a while. Why don't we have another drink?
Yeah.
All right. So this one is Canadian Mist. For me personally, this used to be my mom's drink. Like she would Canadian Mist and Coke. That was her thing.
My mom's too.
Yeah. So we're going to try out this Canadian Mist and see what our moms were thinking. This one, like the Canadian Club, also comes in at $9.99 for a 750 milliliter bottle. Very inexpensive. That's kind of a theme with these Canadian whiskeys. They're not expensive at all. So let's go ahead and try out Canadian Mist. I'm still getting that alcohol smell, but not as much.
Not as much
as with the Canadian Club.
So what's strange about this is I had Canadian Mist with Coke, and you can't really taste the Canadian Mist with Coke.
Yeah.
It kind of dissipates, but you still have that.
It's basically just like alcoholic Coke.
But here, it seems like you have to mix it.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely
this is something that I wouldn't drink on the rocks or buy it straight itself.
No, not at all.
And I guess that goes the same with the other one we just tasted before this one.
Yeah. And even the Rich and Rare for that, I mean, I think if of the three that we've tried, if I was going to drink one by itself, it would be the Rich and Rare.
Yeah, I could probably drink that one on the rocks. I think that'd be okay. But this one, it's one of those that it's better mixed than anything else.
It's not as alcoholic as the Canadian Club by any means.
At least this one has flavor.
Yeah, it does. It does have flavor. It's not good, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, that's what I was like finding weird. Like I've had that before with Coke, but I never had it straight. So it was kind of interesting that basically the Coke eliminates any of that taste.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about San Andreas, the name of the movie, it's basically talking about the San Andreas fault line, which is basically one of the well-known fault lines. In this natural disaster here, the fault line actually slices California in two from Cape Mendocino to the Mexican border. So it's a very, very large fault line. It's on two different plates, the Pacific plate and the North American plate. It's actually called a transform plate, which is, from what I was reading and researching on, it seems a lot like the split plate where friction comes and it slices, but it's a little bit different in that. The cities that normally people think that are going to be the most destructive is Los Angeles and San Diego, but actually they're not on the fault line. They're each on its own plate, but places like San Bernardino, counties like San Bernardino and Wrightwood, they're actually right on that fault line. So if this ever does occur, then those will be basically the counties, and it's actually multiple counties, of course, during that long stretch that would just basically be non-existent at that time.
All right, so in a movie about earthquakes, you should expect to hear a lot about the Richter scale. And the Richter scale is basically how you measure the intensity of an earthquake. So a lot of people don't realize this, but there's actually millions of earthquakes that happen every year. But a lot of them are so small in scale that you never feel them. Seismographs will pick them up, but people, for the most part, won't feel them unless they're literally like standing right over the epicenter or the source of the earthquake. You're going to have earthquakes that range from a 1.0 to a 3.0 on the Richter scale. The ones that are in the upper twos you might feel, but the ones that are like, 1, 1.5, you probably won't even feel those. There are over 100,000 earthquakes a year that occur from the 3.0 to the 5.9 range on the Richter scale. These may be felt by people in the immediate area, and these earthquakes may cause, little to no damage to structures. If they're weak or poorly built structures, it may cause damage, but a lot of structures that are built out on the West Coast in cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles are built really well and are built specifically to be able to withstand earthquakes. Then you've got earthquakes that range from a 6.0 to a 7.9. You get about 100 to 170 of these per year. And these will cause moderate damage to buildings, even the ones that are strongly built to be earthquake-proof on the higher end of that range. People can actually feel these from several hundred miles away from the epicenter. The 8.0 to 8.9 range earthquakes only happen about once a year, And these result in major damage to any buildings or structures that are, in the vicinity of the epicenter of the earthquake, including buildings that are considered earthquake resistant. So you're definitely going to feel it. There's definitely going to be damage. Buildings that are poorly built might be destroyed. Buildings that are earthquake proof or earthquake resistant most likely still be seriously damaged by something that's in the 8.0 to 8.9 range. Finally, for the earthquakes that are 9.0 or higher, like we saw in this movie, those only happen every 10 to 50 years. You might only see 2, 3, 4 of those within a century. But these typically result in complete destruction and even permanent changes in the topography of the area, like we saw in the movie, where the whole Southern California had kind of split off from the rest of the country. The largest earthquake that has ever been on record was the Great Chilean Earthquake of 1960, and that one was a 9.5 on the Richter scale. The one in the movie came in at a 9.6.
So let's talk about how Mr. Fantastic, Daniel is a dick. He basically is the person that when he went under car crash under the garage, he basically left Blake there wanting to go get help. You would think, oh, okay, he's just trying to get help. Well, when things got more hectic, he basically takes off. And then the other part was when he removes the person away from the wall so he can be there while the other person dies. So he's basically saving himself. He finds his demise when he's going across a bridge. The tsunami comes and crates fall him from a shipping boat. So crates start falling on top of him. But during that part, he's that one person that, is this a person that would actually be there to save himself and risk others just for his own survival? I think that's basically dick, and that's what they were trying to make him into this movie. But is that something that they would actually do in real life? And so I hope not, but yeah.
So when I watched this movie and I kind of heard, them talk about Mallory, who was Ray and Emma's youngest daughter, who died several years earlier by drowning. And when I watched this movie, it almost seems like to be a redemption story for Ray. Ray blamed himself for not being able to save Mallory from drowning. Emma never blamed him, but because of what happened, he just became very distant with his family. That's the reason why Emma left him, because he refused to talk about what happened to Mallory. He just took the blame, and he let that take over his life. Emma, I think rightfully so, left him for someone else who may have been a dick, but she apparently didn't know that. At the end of this movie, where Ray and Emma are looking for Blake in San Francisco, they eventually find her, but she drowns. She almost drowns, I should say. She doesn't actually drown. She comes dangerously close to drowning, and it takes a while for Ray to revive her. He's trying to resuscitate her for quite a long time. And I don't think that in reality, if you're trying to resuscitate someone for that long and they don't come back by that time, I don't think that they honestly would come back. But he keeps trying, and eventually she coughs, she comes back, and she's okay. And that whole scene of him being able to save Blake after she almost drowned, being able to save her life, I think was a big redemption for him, because he wasn't able to save Mallory. We don't know really the story behind that, if he was trying to resuscitate her like he was with Blake, or what happened there. But he wasn't able to save Mallory. He was able to save Blake. Obviously, that doesn't make up for the loss of his other daughter, but that does do something for him as far as he was able to save at least, one of his children. That in itself does have to feel good. So I feel like this movie was sort of a redemption story for The Rock's character, Ray. All right, so let's go ahead and try our fourth whiskey here. So this one is Ellington Canadian Whiskey. The Ellington Whiskey Company, Princeton, Minnesota. So yeah, I mean, it says imported Ellington Canadian Whiskey, but I guess distilled and blended under the supervision of the Canadian government. And like the other Canadian whiskeys that we've tried, the Rich and Rare, the Canadian Club, and the Canadian Mist, this one is 80 proof, just like the others. So they all have that in common. Oh my goodness.
What are you trying to do?
Sorry. You don't have to drink that all if you don't want to.
Sure hope this is good.
This one is more expensive than the other ones. This one is $10.99, folks. $10.99 you're going to pay for this one. So, I mean,
empty out my pockets.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't want to buy this one unless you've like won the lottery or something. So, but let's give this a shot. It's got that alcohol smell again.
Yeah. It sounds like a cinnamon taste.
A little bit.
You drink a little bit more, it has like a little bit of an afterburn. I'm not sure if you ever tried it, but it tastes like kind of like a Goldschlager.
I haven't had that.
Oh, okay. It reminds me of that.
It's not bad. I mean, it does have that afterburn. I mean, it definitely has a taste to it, unlike the Canadian Club.
It tastes a little bit better. If it's going to be like straight like this, it is better than Canadian Mist and then the other.
The Canadian Club.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than both of those. The Rich and Rare, I don't know if it's better than the Rich and Rare, though. That's what you get, when you pay $1 extra.
Yeah, you just get $1 extra.
Yeah, you get $1 extra. But I mean, it was definitely better than the other two. That might be kind of neck and neck with the Rich and Rare for me. I didn't think the Rich and Rare was that bad either. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ray's job. We talked earlier about how his job prepared him for this and how he was able to help Emma. Blake learned a lot from him and how she was able to know all this stuff. So he was a rescue pilot. He drove a helicopter. He was a rescue pilot for the Los Angeles Fire Department. I was looking up a little bit about what rescue pilots actually do, like in real life, because I mean that is a real profession, obviously. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what it showed him doing in the movie is pretty similar to what they do in real life. The first thing it showed was him rescuing that girl whose car ran off the road on the cliff. What I mostly saw were examples of them rescuing people who have been displaced by like natural disasters. For the most part, it looked like they portrayed that job pretty accurately.
There's some parts in the movie that I was wondering if that actually can happen or not. There's one scene when they're rescuing the girl that fell off the roof that it's basically in a canyon. So there's two cliffs on each side. And he basically like tilts the helicopter in a vertical way and to be able to go into
they called it something
tipping the hat.
Tipping the hat. There you go.
And so I feel like I don't know if that can be done or not. It feels like it's unrealistic to me when I saw it. But who knows? Maybe someone actually can't do that. But
yeah. If there's anyone watching this video who can drive a helicopter, tell us if that can actually happen.
Yeah. Another part is when he was rescuing Emma. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen in other movies, and that's what I'm basing off and what I've heard, helicopters are pretty fragile in terms of what gets into their propellers. When he's rescuing Emma, that cloud of dust comes in with all that debris, rocks, but the helicopter is perfectly fine. I'm not sure if it would actually be that fine. I don't know. Or it might cause disruption there, and that's basically the end of the movie there.
Well, I mean, they did kind of address that, because remember when their chopper like crash landed in, I want to say it was Bakersfield or some town in California. Their chopper actually crash landed, and he mentioned it was probably because of the hit they took in LA.
Oh,
so that damage, they did talk about that damage, and it did show the helicopter having engine trouble because of that.
Yeah, I thought it would just happen right away, but yeah, no, I see.
But that's what I'm getting at though. Like I would think that all those hits that it took, that any issues that the helicopter would have would happen right away. Like right,
it would have been like later, like, oh, that's our engine, bye.
Yeah. I mean, at least as far as like his profession goes, and they did mention that he was ex-military, like him, like the whole team was ex-military. So they didn't say what they did in the military, but I can assume that they were some kind of helicopter pilot. They have that experience and training as well.
Basically, like the whole portrayal of the rescue team was basically in the first 5 minutes when they're rescuing the girls. That's where they did their whole foundation of the rescue team.
Yeah. So before we get into our opinions of the movie, did you want to go ahead and have the last taste test?
Yep, let's go.
This last one that we're going to try for a 750 milliliter bottle is $22.99. And this is actually the top selling Canadian whiskey in the United States. I got the little small bottle here. This is Crown Royal. Definitely the most expensive of the group. I'll give you a lot again. That's okay. I'm breaking the fourth wall here, guys. We are recording this video immediately after we recorded the last one, where we just drank all the Irish whiskey. So we've had a lot of whiskey tonight. Let's go ahead and try the Crown Royal.
It smells not that bad.
No, it smells pretty good.
It's very smooth.
Yeah.
There's no afterburn or the aftertaste is sweet.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
It's something that you can drink on the rocks or by itself.
Yeah. Although As far as the flavor goes, I don't know if it's my favorite, just from a pure like flavor standpoint. It's definitely the smoothest of all of them. All the other ones had some kind of aftertaste or afterburn.
Yeah.
This one doesn't really have that. Out of the 5, though, I probably still have to give the edge to... I don't know. It's just tough for me because Crown Royal was definitely the smoother one.
Yeah.
It didn't give you an aftertaste or an afterburn. But I like the flavor of Ellington better.
Yeah, the flavor is a lot more pronounced. I mean, the flavor is there for Crown Royal, but it's more...
Yeah, Crown Royal is definitely my number 2.
Yeah.
It might be tied, actually, with Rich and Rare for number 2. I probably gotta go Ellington.
I think I have to go backwards on this one, so that way I can get a...
You want to try one of the other ones again?
So, like, Club, I'm not...
No.
Club is the last one.
That was the last one.
Canadian Mist.
Yeah,
definitely. For the price, there's better ones option for the same price.
Oh, yeah.
Or even $1 more.
It's
better. Rich and Rare, which is basically the same price as Canadian Mist, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same price.
I would pick Rich and Rare over Canadian Mist.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, surprisingly how much we're trying to figure out which one's best. I think Crown Royal is actually the best, and then Rich and Rare, and then Canadian Whiskey.
Yeah.
Canadian Mist, and then Club.
I think Rich and Rare just has me on the flavor. I like that flavor better. It's not as smooth as Crown Royal. It has a little bit of an aftertaste that Crown Royal doesn't have. But the flavor of that one, I think puts Rich and Rare just a little bit over for me. So I think this is the first time we've disagreed on what our favorite is.
Yeah,
I think so. I think so. All right, well that's fine.
It's about to happen, right?
Yeah, it was going to happen eventually because we had agreed on everything up to this point.
I just like the no aftertaste. I like the smoothness of it.
Yeah,
and even though the flavor is not as pronounced, the flavor is still there.
Yeah, the flavor.
So that's what got me. So, what did you think about the movie?
I liked it. I thought it was fine. This was the first time I had watched it since I saw it in the theater. Back in 2015. I don't think this is ever going to be like a Twister or even an Independence Day for me, for that matter. I'm trying to think about why it was just okay for me. The CGI was really good. I don't want to say there was like character development, but they were very well like defined as far as what their skill set was, what their knowledge is. I didn't finish watching the movie thinking like, oh, that's a great movie. If I see it on TV, I don't know if I'd watch it.
I thought the movie was good, just based on the movie itself. It's a good movie. If you tell me like, oh, do you recommend this movie? I do.
Yeah.
Watch
definitely. Watch it once.
Or more than once if you like it a lot. Independence Day and Twister is more that nostalgia feeling. We're the same age, so we both watched it when we were little kids. I watched both of them when I was a little kid. I had both of them on VHS. The two of my favorite movies, just because of that reason, because I grew up with that movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie that I saw when I was a little kid, and that movie basically blew my mind when I was a little kid. And as time went on, even though the CGI wasn't as great in, let's say, like Independence Day, I still enjoy that movie a lot. This movie, I'm not sure if I saw it now, that if I was a little kid now and watching it now, if I was like, oh, this is the best movie in the world, I'm not sure of that because, of course, I'm not. That's why the other movies are more at the top of my list than this movie is, just because of that reason.
Yes.
I'm not saying this is a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's things that you're like, oh, I wish this would happen, or I wish this happened. It does happen that way. Like, oh, well, why can't he be smarter? They are. But like I said, like if you watch the movie, you'll enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you won't enjoy it.
Twister and Independence Day, who are, disaster movies, they came out around the same time when we were young.
Yeah.
And we grew up with them. So I think that's a lot of the reason why we like it. I try to put Twister in the mindset of like right now. Like what if I watched Twister for the first time right now at this point in my life? Would I like it as much as I do now?
Yeah.
Like,
or would you be like, oh, the CGI is terrible, or the CGI is this?
Yeah. Both of those movies came out, 20 plus years ago, 22 years ago, 24 years ago. San Andreas came out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if maybe in 20, 25 years...
If that still holds up.
Yeah. Does San Andreas still hold up in 20, 25 years like Twister and Independence Day do? It was a good movie.
It was.
If someone says, hey, should I watch this movie? Yeah, you should watch the movie.
Go watch it. If you like disaster movies, go watch it.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the movie?
No, that looks like that concludes this week's discussion, review, summary type thing. Please like, subscribe. Yeah, it helps a lot, honestly.
It does. It does, really. Leave a comment down below telling us what you want us to watch in the future, telling us what you want us to drink in the future. We've had a lot of fun doing the whiskey tasting this month. So if you guys have any other ideas for not only drinks that we should try, but like concepts that we should try, let us know down in the comments, and we'll try them out.
Nothing like take shots after every word or anything like that, but
yeah, it's like you could probably play a drinking game in these videos for the amount of times we say but so nothing like that. We're not trying to get drunk. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching.
Like How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah, but yeah, guys, follow us on Twitter, Everybody Cinema, and subscribe. Click that notification bell so that you know when we upload videos. 2 p.m. on Fridays. That's when we upload videos. Trailers come out and stuff like that. We may upload others. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.